Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about 1964's A Fistful of Dollars and its brand new Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before I get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about the film A Fistful of Dollars and you're just here for that 4K Blu-ray review, please make sure you guys skip ahead right now. So back in 1964, we got the first ever team up between Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood. And this was actually a co-production between Spain, Germany, and Italy. And for Clint Eastwood, he didn't really see it as too much of a risk. He was going to be paid $15,000. It was a pretty low budget film. It only cost $200,000 to make. And he figured that if the movie was bad, nobody in America would see it, and it was a pretty worthy risk for him after doing 7 years on the show Rawhide, where he was just a supporting actor. So this time, he was going to get to be the star. So again, it seemed like a pretty good risk for Clint Eastwood to take this role. And for Sergio Leone, I mean, he basically got his star, and this is what would make Sergio Leone one of the most recognized and appreciated directors of all time, and one of the most influential directors of all time. So it was just a match made in heaven, and nobody really saw it coming in 1964. One of these spaghetti westerns. You know, the movie itself it's pretty fascinating, being a co-production between those three countries, but the movie itself takes place on the U.S. border. We bring in an American actor in Clint Eastwood. He's working with a bunch of different types of actors here. A lot of them, you know, this movie itself is filmed in Italian, so if you watch it in English, it's got an English dub on it, but of course Clint Eastwood speaks English himself, so it's just a very fascinating production in general, and it creates one of the most unique trilogies of all time. The Dollars trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy, whatever you want to call it, but it all started right here with A Fistful of Dollars. And believe it or not, people in the United States didn't get to see this film until the entire trilogy was done, and it made Clint Eastwood a star overnight. I don't know what he did in that 3-year window between 64 and 67. I don't know if he was just like building up that star power, but this is what made him considered one of the great leading men. And then obviously in the 1970s, you'd probably have one of his greatest runs of all time. But the Man with No Name is one of the most iconic Western characters of all time, wearing that poncho, just kind of drifts into town just as easy as he drifts out of town. You know, just a Western trope through and through, something that Clint Eastwood's characters you would see throughout many of his films. It's very similar to Pale Rider. This guy just comes in, saves the town, and decides to leave. That's it. Pretty damn simple premise. The Western itself, because it's like such a low budget Western, I guess they got this like really empty looking town. They make sure to bring that up to you the second that Clint Eastwood shows up. He's like, never seen a town so empty like this, and he basically lays it out to him, the saloon keeper, that, you know, well, that only thing that happens in this town is murder, unfortunately. You either get to the top or you don't. And the Man with No Name hears this, he's like, all right, and he finds a way to play the two main families running this town. One of them happens to have the sheriff, and the other ones don't, but these two, he decides, you know what, I'm going to play these two against each other, so I come out on top. Very, very smart. But we also see throughout this film that Clint Eastwood's character also has a little bit of a heart for him. You know, he knows how good of a shooter he is. He makes sure to lay that out for you right at the very beginning when he sees the coffin maker, one of the most iconic lines in film history.
Get 3 coffins ready.
And then as he comes walking back after he kills the 4 guys, he's like, my mistake. 4 coffins. I just love that. Just iconic stuff. The badassery of Clint Eastwood. He doesn't have to give you too many lines. He's just got that iconic look on his face. Sergio Leone obviously would become iconic for these really close-ups. It would become even more famous. It would become even more famous in the good, the bad, and the ugly. But just showing, like, one thing about Sergio Leone that I love compared to the American westerns all the time, obviously they would start to shift and change after the spaghetti westerns, is how dirty everybody looks. I talked about this in my Once Upon a Time in the West review, that Sergio Leone concentrates on like that burnt, leathery look and skin. They're all dirty, disgusting humans because the Old West was a dirty, disgusting place. Like, one thing about Tombstone, and I love Tombstone, it feels very much like a Hollywood production in the sense that, you know, everyone's clean. They're very well-trimmed, well-kept, good-looking men, good-looking women, when really the Old West was such a dirty, disgusting, you have to watch over your shoulder at all times in the Old West, and Sergio Leone captures that perfectly. Like, I don't feel like in his movies you have a chance to rest because somebody is always waiting to kill you. Like, and throughout this entire movie, if Clint Eastwood wants to get something done, he has to, you know, sneak out in the middle of the night, and that stuff is still not going to work, and he really ends up having to take a beating for that, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie just because of the incredible POV camera work that Sergio Leone is doing. Again, such a low budget film for this to work as well as it does. It really has to be commended. Obviously, the next 2 movies might look and feel a little bit more expensive, even though they're made on just this low budget, I believe. But when you watch this movie, it's incredible with what you can do with the money you have, because again, you get one of the greatest composers of all time, Amir Morricone. This is definitely where he became a star, was from the Dollars trilogy, and obviously when we get to the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he gives us one of the most iconic scores of all time that has really stood the test of time, has been spoofed and satired throughout history. You know that, just like you know The Man with No Name. That's another thing. Clint Eastwood's character is one of the most iconic characters in film history, and you don't even know his name, but he pops up in Rango, just showing you that this is probably the most iconic looking hero of the Old West, but he's not really a hero. He's just a guy doing his own thing. He's doing what's best for him. Yeah, we see that one scene in here where he gives the one family money to get out of there, because you shouldn't be involved with this. Everything that's going on in this town is just for gain for everybody else, and even Clint Eastwood knows that, because he benefits from everything that goes on here. But once he cleans up that town, he decides, that's it, I'm out of here, I'm leaving. He finished his job and he goes. Doesn't matter what just happened, the amount of people he just killed, he did it, he got what he needed, and he leaves. And that's the simple message of this movie. You're just there to watch it, see some iconic lines be banged out, and, you know, some great tension. You know, the Mexican standoffs are best in this movie. I don't know why he thought he could beat him with a rifle, but he sure did. You ain't beating Clint Eastwood with that handgun. I'm always trying to do that. I've been in the shower the other day, like, trying to figure out how you do that. How you hit it so fast and fire so fast, but I guess I'm not made for the Old West. I would have been dead pretty damn fast if I had to guess. But not Clint Eastwood, not The Man with No Name. And that's why A Fistful of Dollars is still entertaining all of these years later, and has started one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And if you've never seen A Fistful of Dollars, even if you don't want to check out this Arrow 4K Blu-ray we're going to talk about right now, I could highly recommend it. Even if you're not a really big Western fan, I do feel like the spaghetti Westerns are a little bit different than the American Westerns. And I say, you know what? Give them a shot. Try the Man with No Name trilogy, Once Upon a Time in the West. Definitely try The Great Silence. That's one of my all-time favorite Westerns of all time, and it takes place in the snow. Check that one out. I think you might find that you like Westerns a little bit more than you thought, so give those ones a try. But anyway, I'll keep rambling on, so let's get into this 4K Blu-ray review. Well, here it is, A Fistful of Dollars on 4K Blu-ray, and this came from Arrow Video. Now, this isn't the first time the Man with No Name trilogy has been released on 4K Blu-ray. They did get released in the United States by Kino Lorber years ago, and people didn't necessarily love those, and they didn't have HDR on them, but they had cleaned up a lot of issues that apparently had been following around the Man with No Name trilogy for years. But people didn't love those Kino Lorber 4K Blu-rays. Now, me personally, I didn't grab them because people had said that they weren't great 4K Blu-rays. So I was like, okay, maybe down the line they'll redo those scans. I think they came out in 2022. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember thinking, you know what, I'm going to wait on these. And I'm really glad I did, because obviously Arrow Video went in there and they were selling these as they had finally cleaned it up, undid 50 years of issues, or at this point now 60 years of issues, and they had cleaned it up, made it look better than it ever looked, and they had even delayed this. They were releasing each film 1 month apart. The first film, the 4K Blu-ray for A Fistful of Dollars, was supposed to come out in April, got delayed till May. Now this month we'll get A Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more, and then in June we'll get the final film in the trilogy, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Arrow Video is holding nothing back when it comes to these 4K Blu-ray releases. Now, I live in the United States. A lot of people who watch this channel live in the United States. Just so you are aware, this was a UK-only Region B release. So if you buy this in the United States and you have it imported into you, you're going to need a Region B player, or you're going to need a workaround like the Panasonic A20 has. And if you don't know how to do that and you have a Panasonic A20, I'll leave some links in the description, because the original Fuzz and Frank from Frank's Medium Reviews have actually made videos about the Panasonic A20 and making that a region-free player. Me personally, sometime down the line, I do want to buy a region-free player so I don't have to use the Panasonic for that. But either way, or, you know, region-free players are expensive, especially if you wanted to play in 4K. So eventually I would like to get my own designated region-free player, but for now I got to work with what I have to work with. So just so you guys know that, if you're buying this in the United States, all of your extras are going to be on your Blu-ray disc, which is something that Arrow Video hasn't done in the past. Like, look at the Silence of the Lambs. If you bought that, all of your extras are actually on the 4K Blu-ray disc as well. But I guess they wanted to put the film on its own disc and put all of the extras on that second Blu-ray disc. Makes sense. We'll get into that in a second. But I just want to show off the packaging a little bit, because it is incredible. It is the Arrow Video Morbidly Obese box right here, so I love it when they whip this one out. And now it's becoming a standard to put the slip sleeve over the actual 4K Blu-ray box, so when you come underneath, you get the beautiful artwork as well. But because of the sleeve, you get all your stats on it. When you come around to the back, there's beautiful artwork, in my opinion. Hard box, as you would expect, and just great reading material. Smells absolutely incredible, well designed, great paper stock, as you would expect. Arrow Video, if you bought any of their fat boxes, you know about this beautiful paper stock, well written essays in there. I can highly recommend it. You get a poster as well. I have no space for the poster, so they just usually stay in here. This is reversible. This artwork is reversible, so if you want to switch it out to the original movie poster, you can do that. Or you can just keep it as the alternate artwork. I'm probably going to switch it out. I haven't yet. You come inside. It's a 2-disc set. You get one 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc. Like I was saying, the second disc does not have the film on it. It's just going to have all of those extras on it. You get a bunch of new stuff, including 4 new interviews, a brand new essay on Amira Morricone, outtakes. What kind of outtakes? Outtakes for the 1960s. A new introduction. Well, it's not new, but it's kind of old. So you get a bunch of brand new extras while also getting a bunch of great archival extras. And of course, that means that if you have the Kino Lorber 4K Blu-rays, the extras will not match up to this. So if you're a big fan of extras like I am, you know, you might want to upgrade to the Arrow Video version for that. But again, only if you have that region-free player or, you know, you live in an area where this is the region that it's being released in. Then you don't have to worry about it at all. But you do get a ton of extras on there. Just so you're aware, though, the new scan on 4K Blu-ray is only on that 4K Blu-ray disc, not on the Blu-ray disc. The Blu-ray is just going to have your extras. Now, I know not everybody cares about the extras, and a lot of people will be just upgrading just for those brand new visuals because, like I said, Arrow Video is selling this as they've cleaned these movies up better than they ever could, restored them what they originally were supposed to look like, and they gave you everything as far as the visual and audio presentation goes. You get a brand new looseless mono track that has been completely redone. You also get a reworked 5.1 surround soundtrack, which is the one that I chose to use. I think it's a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. That's the one I chose to watch the film in. Either way, or I tested them both out. And for a movie like this that, in my opinion, never has sounded great, again, a low-budget film from the 1960s, you know, the audio was probably pretty hard to pick up. And they really cleaned it up. Obviously, it still sounds like a 1960s film, but you know, no pops, nothing like that. Everything does come in crisp and clear no matter which audio track you choose to watch it in. Obviously, the gunshots still sound iconic, exactly what you think of the Man with No Name trilogy. Just absolutely beautiful when it comes to the sound. Is it something that's going to knock your socks off? No. Remember, this film came out in 1964, was shot in Spain on location with not much money. So you have to remember that when you go into these 4K Blu-rays, which makes the visuals even more impressive because you do have Dolby Vision and HDR10 on here. It's Dolby Vision, which HDR10 compatible, whatever route you guys choose to go. I didn't see a huge difference, but I did see a little bit of difference between the Dolby Vision and HDR, so I just wanted to point that out to you guys. In my eyes, it looked a little bit better in Dolby Vision. Now, given just a beautiful looking transfer in general, in my opinion. Doesn't match up to like the transfers, let's just say, with the Warner Brothers 4K Blu-rays that came out for The Outlaw Josie Wells or Pale Rider, westerns, you know, as well. They don't look as good as that. I would say this is more in line with other 60s released films, because one thing with the 60s and the 50s, when you see the Searchers on 4K Blu-ray as well, which this does not look like the Searchers on 4K Blu-ray, that's probably the best looking Western on 4K Blu-ray ever. But for what this film has looked like in the past and what it looks like now, it is a huge upgrade. The only issue you might see is like some of the night scenes. Not all of them, because there is a beautiful looking scene that takes place as the sun is setting early in the film. I mean, it looks absolutely gorgeous. 10 out of 10 visuals. But one thing that they used to do back in the day is they would shoot night scenes in the day. And it was very obvious with the shadows and everything. It's just the technology of the time. It's the same thing in the early James Bond films. There's nothing you can do about that. It's how they shot the movie. But it's also, you know, a little bit distracting. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that when you go into it. But, you know, most people do realize. Just wanted to let you guys know. But overall, what a fantastic transfer visually and audio-wise. And then, of course, you get all the extras you could ever hope for. If you're an extra junkie, you're going to love that. The premium packaging from Arrow Video. Now, this is just the first in the trilogy. If all three of these movies look as good as this, now, I imagine that this probably would be the weakest when it comes to visuals and audio. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, or A Fistful of Dollars is one of the most entertaining in the entire trilogy. Has some iconic lines that I absolutely love. And seeing this in the best way possible, hearing it the best way possible, and getting everything we could ever ask for as a fan of the Man with No Name trilogy, given This is the only first one, so it's an incomplete trilogy right now. But so far, Arrow Video is hitting a home run with these. Are they 10 out of 10 releases? Is this a 10 out of 10 release? No. You know, the visuals and audio aren't something that I could say is something that's going to knock your socks off. No, I don't think it's that kind of release. But I don't think it ever could be that kind of release just because of what they were working with. You know, source material is a huge deal. And to clean this movie up the way they did is really impressive to me. It absolutely looks phenomenal for the time. I can highly recommend this 4K Blu-ray, especially if you are a fan of the Man with No Name trilogy or just a fan of A Fistful of Dollars. This is definitely what I can highly recommend. And I believe I only got it imported for $40 off the Atomic Movie Store, which in my opinion is an absolute steal for what you get with this, especially if we're talking about comparing it to Tombstone, which cost about $55. I got it for that for $41. So I got them for about the same price, and if you were to compare A Fistful of Dollars to Tombstone, you get a lot more in the packaging of A Fistful of Dollars than you do for Tombstone, which is kind of sad, but still, it's what you would expect. Arrow Video is one of those boutique labels that takes great pride in their releases, and Disney is still a corporation, so it does make sense either way. Or Tombstone is a good 4K Blu-ray release, whereas A Fistful of Dollars, in my opinion, is a great 4K Blu-ray release. And if I was going to grade this on a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give A Fistful of Dollars a very, very, very solid 9 out of 10. I can highly recommend this one. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, guys, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Nicholas Head, Uncle V, and Kevin Kruger, you can do that. Or if you want to become a big boy and become a bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato, you can look for all of that information in the description below. But of course, guys, no pressure at all. All I hope is that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you. All right.